mean, you've been around the gaming industry for ages.
Yes.
You wouldn't, if you say Jon Romero, you wouldn't think about a like strategy game. How did that come around?
So it came around because my wife, Brenda Romero, is actually the lead designer of this game.
Yeah. Okay.
And so Brenda has knowledge as well. She started in the game industry in 1981.
Yeah, I know.
So she's been, an RPG designer with the Wizardry series, a strategic designer with the Jagged Alliance series. She's loved XCOM forever. She's played Civ for decades, and she loves the time period of the 1920s gangster era. So when we started our company in Ireland, there was a perfect time for her to make this game. So she wanted to create the pitch and find a company that she could pitch it to, and it turns out that Paradox is the perfect company for it.
Yeah, and they are quite known for like deep strategy games.
And historical games.
Yeah, of course. And I've been watching a lot of Peaky Blinders recently.
Nice.
So it feels like really good fit.
Yep.
Could you like describe how is it possible to be a crime boss without like being a terrible guy? Could you be like the mastermind?
Well, you can be mastermind, and you can be very diplomatic, and you can try and get all kinds of allies on your side, but at some point you have to take over. And so you do need to dominate everybody in the game.
Yeah.
And that means you need to be taking all of their rackets away from them.
Yeah.
So that's going to involve combat.
Yeah. And we saw in the short demo that we had a sit down with one of the other crime bosses.
Yeah.
Could you like just don't do that and just go around causing mayhem instead and just taking over everything?
Well, what'll happen is if you refuse sit downs with a crime boss, they get into a gang war with you.
Okay.
If you're going to refuse to negotiate or even to talk to them, it's a snub, and they just want to wipe you out without any diplomacy whatsoever. So they initiate a gang war, and then they start moving in on all your rackets. It's a bad scene. So you want to get into a sit down, even though it might not turn out the way that you want. Some players might not be like as aggressive as other players. So some players might actually have done a deal with the guy to try and stave off the inevitable.
Yeah.
But you could just be the super direct player and just like, let's go do it right now. You know.
Yeah. How would you play the game?
I would probably play it a lot of different ways. It depends on it would have depended on how powerful that guy was compared to my guy, like who I had. So if I don't have that many people in my racket, or in my crew, I'd be kind of afraid of trying to go against the guy because it'd be like 5-1 or something. So I probably would have been as diplomatic as I could. I do stuff, errands for him. I do like whatever it takes so I can just build myself up and then do it back to him, right?
Stab him in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sounds like a classic Paradox game.
Yeah.
Are you able to prohibition time is a very special time in Chicago. Are you able to try to hide stuff like that from the police? Are you keeping your heat level down?
Yeah, so you can bribe police. There's also two other government agencies: the Bureau of Protection, the Bureau of Prohibition, and the Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah.
And they're all going after you in different areas depending on what you own. And the police can be bribed, so can all the other agents. If you have enough money to keep them bribed and keep them away from shutting you down, but you might have rivals that actually have more pull with the police or the different bureaus, and just basically get you shut down as well. So they'll move in and they'll just shut your rackets down, and you don't own them anymore. Now it's like, great, less power, less money, bad idea. You need to get revenge and find out who did it and who set you up, and lots of intrigue in the game.
Yeah. Talking about revenge, is there a system for getting anything out of that, or is it just personal for the player, or can you get revenge grudges that you can carry out? Yeah. So the game AI doesn't have just shallow reactionary AI. It has plotting AI, so it plots, and they create allies to go against you, and they kind of think several steps ahead, and they create these plans that they execute over time. So they kind of create internal missions that they need to get done to achieve an objective. And so even though the circumstances in the game might change, they'll change their plans if it's interrupted by something you've done. But they are plotting against you to take you over. So it's like you have to worry about what they're thinking
almost the way that if you're playing a game against a chess game against a computer, you know it's thinking ahead so many moves. You got to worry about that think ahead, right? And you got to worry about that AI in our game as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to think about and ways to try and counter what they're doing and how they're moving against you.
It feels like, I mean, as I said before, you've been in the gaming industry for ages, and probably seen like the waves of different type of games. It really feels like this type of turn-based combat has had a good, strong comeback later.
Yeah.
Later year. Do you have anything to say
Well, the thing is, we've seen a lot of really great combat systems, and we wanted to integrate that into this strategy game to make it, point-based, to make it turn-based, and like the world is real-time, but then it's turn-based when you get into combat. And we wanted that combat to use a cover system, so the entire environment becomes cover, even when you are on the street and there's cars moving down the street, and as soon as you get into combat, everything freezes and now it's cover.
Yeah.
So you could like wait until huge trucks come down the street, now get into cover because now get into combat because that's a really big piece of cover that might be interesting. So the dynamic environment becomes a static part of combat.
Yeah.
And so we like doing things like that to make how can we make combat a little more interesting and super dynamic, and how can we use the environment against the other guy?
Yeah.
And so it's been really fun to try and come up with here's how we like this turn-based stuff. What other things can we add into this turn-based combat, like having characters automatically act depending on the situation or depending on who's on the other side or what the issues are that they have, and they go nuts in the middle of combat or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's so much stuff going on anytime you're going to get into that situation.
Yeah, cool. I think they want us to quit now, so
all right.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's great.